to Grace and Lottie's Elizabeth here. Today we're going to be in the Lake app. This was one I reviewed a little while back, and I had a comment asking for a little bit of a tutorial through this for some ways to create some neat shading. So I thought I would come back in here and show you guys some of my ideas on how to do that. Going to be using the Mystical Familiars right here for my picture, and there is a fun unicorn right there. I'm gonna leave this in portrait or in landscape because it makes a better video for you to watch, but feel free to rotate your screen because it'll make this picture sit in the screen a little bit better. So let's look and see what colors this one has. Look at all those great shades that this one already has picked out. Now, first thing we are going to do is we're going to work in making a cool background. So I'm going to pick this really dark navy right here, and I'm going to ink it in the background. So just kind of go around and find the areas where it needs to come in. And that's our first step. That was really nice and fast. That actually, undo right there. So that's got all of the little spots filled in with this color. Now, one of the things I thought was pretty cool, and I was testing this out a little bit the other day, is that we can create some neat effects, almost like a bokeh background, with using the watercolor tool over top of this. So I'm going to pick some of these brighter colors right here. I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. All I'm doing, and I'm using an Apple pencil just because it's what I have for a stylus. You can do this with your finger. You don't have to have a fancy stylus. It makes it a little easier for me to find the small details. But you can sit and you can tap, and you can count to 4. So watch. 1, 2, 3. Oh, a little too long. So we'll count to 3. 1, 2, 3. Oh, still a little too long. I did 1, 2. And we create those nice little dots. Now they're translucent, so they're letting a little bit through, but not a whole lot. If I zoom it in a little bit, get a better view. So 1, 2, 3. Trying to count it. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And I've got a little bit of a smudge here. I'm going to erase that real quick while I'm looking at it. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And I can even get close to the edge here. 1, 2, 3. You can see it kind of bleeds behind it. 1, 2, 3. And just going around my whole edge like that creates this really cool effect. And if I vary my line size, let's go really big. Watch. See how that bleeds out? You get different shapes, and when they overlap, it's like little bits of light overlapping. So I'm going to zoom out. Kind of dot in all around. I'm going to take it back to small. Oh, I don't like that one. I'm kind of moved a little bit. I moved on that one too. I put double dotted. And you could go all the way down to teeny tiny if you want in this. I'm going to go in now with a slightly different color, and we're going to do a couple more. And these look really similar right now. They've just got that slight variation, which will be cool. Oh. So this is just playing with this little watercolor tool. Make sure you get a couple to go off and in different directions. If you have them all within the page, it's okay, but it's a little more exciting when you've got a couple that go off the edge that are sneaking underneath your design. I think it just gives you a better overall feel. I'm going to do a little yellow now, so kind of glowy stars. You need to see that it creates a neat effect. And you can fill in as much as you want with this. You can leave it to where it's just a couple. It's your choice on how much you want to do on this. So I'm going to say that that is done for right now. I got a little bit of yellow right over here. Now it's really pale. So can't notice a whole lot with that. But next we're going to come up here and I'm going to do that moon first. And I'm going to pick that light gray color. It looks pretty moonish. And what I'm going to do is with my brush. Now, one of the secrets with a brush when you're doing watercolors, and this is pretty much consistent across apps, if you want to create smooth color, don't lift your brush. Okay? So see how I filled that in really smoothly? I didn't lift my brush. This one has the feature where it will only stay in the area where you are, so I don't have to be super careful about staying in the lines. I can turn that off, and I will here in a minute. I'll show you what that looks like when you turn off that effect. You created, oh, I didn't realize I was off page. I need to do a couple more dots here. Just gonna do my background. So that this looks consistent with the rest of it. There we go. Didn't realize. Let's check the bottom here real quick. Slide down. Oh, it's not wanting to slide. Fingers. Yeah, I got to the bottom. Okay. There we go. Now it's consistent. Back in now with this, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to make my brush size a little bit smaller. Now, every coat I do with this will darken it. I could also, right here, I'm going to pick a darker shade right here. And one of the reasons I'm trying to stay in this, so you can go to the wheel and you've got a lot more colors to choose from. I'm going to keep it simple today with a simple palette so you're not having to try to run back and forth to find them. And you can create a lot more layers using that than what we're going to do here. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to just round the edge. See how I'm coming in here? Oop. I didn't undo there. I'm just shadowing this in a little bit. I'm gonna come back over and you see it got darker. Oops, started in the wrong spot. What's great is there is that undo feature. So if you hit the wrong spot, it's easy to fix it. I'm gonna zoom it in just a little bit here. It's hard to get in that little, yep, I keep hitting the unicorn instead of the, there we go. So I've come in again, I'm gonna do one more layer with this. So you see with each layer, it's getting a little darker underneath. Put a little bit down in here. Nope, didn't want to double dot that. A little bit down in here too. So there's got that. Now, I come back with this other gray. And what I can do now is watch. This is going to help blend it together. So you see now I'm blending that. This app does not have a blending tool, so this is the easiest way to come back and blend. I'm just going to go over this a couple of times here. Each time I do it gets a little softer, while also darkening in on the gray just a little bit that was already there. Okay, and now one way to do highlights is if you pick a color that's going to be your dark shadowy color, you can pick another one to be your highlight. And I'm going to use the yellow in this to be a highlight shade. So I'm kind of thinking that the highlight is coming from my upper left. So I'm going to take this now and I'm going to go around with the yellow. Now it's not a lot of yellow. It's just a little bit of yellow, but that gives you the idea that there's a little bit more happening over in that side. It's real subtle, real light, gives you just that hint of a color. With the other tools on here, you've got the spray paint, the ink, and you've got the paint. The paint is pretty opaque. The ink is but the paint is kind of hard to layer with. So I like to come in just really subtly and do maybe a little bit with that. For shading, and I'll go into another one later, another video on how to use that one with shading, but for right now we're just going to stick with this watercolor brush. So let's go up here. I'm going to zoom it in a little bit and we're going to do this rainbow. Now I'm going to look over here at my colors. I have a red, I have an orange, I have blue, purple, a green. Let's see what colors. Definitely let's use the pink for my rainbow, and we're gonna do it in the pastels for the rainbow. So the pink I'm gonna just do, and I could have made this a bigger brush. Again, remember to hold it down, but don't lift, because when you lift, it starts another layer, and we just want this to be the first layer. So there's the pink. Now for the yellow. Doing it in layers like this too gives you a lot of control for the shade that you want. And some of these, because I spent a long time, if they're in the specialty one that the artist picked, that shade doesn't exist in the color wheel. I looked doing a couple of these to practice beforehand, and I was kind of sad because I was like, oh, I want this color and I want to be able to adjust it. And that shade was not anywhere to be found. I'm going to use the bright blue. So there we are with a really nice and faint. I'm going to go zoom in a little bit there so I can see what I'm doing. I think I'm going to erase this. That's just going to be a streak in the hair. And back in with the paintbrush. That's got us a good first coat. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to do a second one. These are pastel. They're not going to be super bright. I might brighten it up just a little bit. Back to that green color. The rainbows don't really have any shadows, so we're not going to do any specialized effects on this. Ooh, I forgot that that was over, so I can erase this up here and reapply that. There we go. Oops, hit the wrong spot. There we are. I love an undo button. You see how quick it is to fix your mistakes. If only everything in life had an undo button. So now the yellow. Just realized I'm gonna undo that. Start this section over. There we are. Forget I have the zoom on. There we go. We have a really nice pale rainbow back there for our unicorn. I'm looking, let's do a little bit on the unicorn itself. So let's see, what color do I want to make my unicorn? I think I want him to be purple. It's kind of more of a periwinkle color, but we'll do this. This will be our base shade going on here. I'm going to use the dark purple, like the real purple, to do some, oops, messed up. The joy of the undo button again. So here I am going in, laying in one layer of purple to start with. And that is a super pale shade. It's also the same shade I used up here in the moon. But I'm going to go in with this dark purple, and we're going to zoom in on the horse a little bit. And I'm going to go with a smaller brush. Now, this is going to be a little bit of intricate work because this is all one piece, and I'm going to want to go underneath the jaw here just a little bit. And it'll bleed through to the other side. See, I got it right there when I came around the corner. I held it too long. I did it again. Not quite right spot. So play with it, finesse it. I'm going to be a little bit of a perfectionist here. There we go. And you'll... Just going to lay in some shadows here. One other thing you could do is if I hadn't put down the first shade of color, you can do this and you can use... Actually, we're going to go back and do that. Watch this. I'm going to erase this and I'm going to show you how to clean up. That's a good idea to do right here. So we're erasing out. You could also ink with white. Another way to erase, but I don't have a white handy. So we're just going to erase. So we're going to start with the purple. And I'm just going to come in. And I'm not going to worry about being as neat this time. I don't like that line. There. Remember, our light source is up on the upper left, so that's what I'm thinking about as I'm doing this. Here I'm going to undo back just a little bit. I'm going to take this we're going to come in this way. Double dot. We're going to do this part first. And what I'm doing is I'm really laying this in. Right there. Now, I'm going to clean this up using my eraser tool. Oh. We'll make it a little smaller so I can get into a little more detail here. So you see now I've laid in a pretty strong shadow. I'm going to add in a little bit more over here. And I can come back in with my eraser and clean it up. Right there. Pretty neat little way to finagle that around. So now this is the lower end here, so I'm going to come in. I'm using a smaller brush this time. And Coming in a little darker here. I'm going to take this darker here. Remember, we're going to blend this in with the gray here in a minute. So it'll come back and be a little bit darker in here. Clean it up with the eraser. Oh, got a little too close there. Okay, let's clean that up there. Now this leg back here, I'm going to color completely in with the purple first. And then we're going to do a second coat because it is in the back and it's not getting hardly any sun, any of the light. So it's moonlight, I guess, in this. So we've got it darken in the back, and then we're going to come in and give this guy a shadow. And we've got a tiny little line there. Okay, we got a little bit of shadowing here. A little bit here. A little bit in there. Now we come in, let's actually put a little bit in the mouth here too. So just go through, think about where your shadows go, because now I'm going to get a big brush and we're going to come in with that gray. Didn't select the big brush. There we are. Oh, I hit the hair. I was like, why didn't it paint? I was trying to figure out. So now it's going to start blending it in. This is exactly the same thing we did with the moon just a minute ago. Just now we're doing it with the horse, or the Pegasus. I think I've said unicorn a couple of times. So I'm using a giant brush here. You can see that's just doing a subtle line around it. I'm going to go in with a smaller brush now. The secret is not to let it up. And I'll get this beautiful smooth line. So same idea as we did before. If I want to put in a little bit of a highlight, because back here the sun would be hitting, or moon would be hitting pretty strong, so I'm going to add in the yellow back there to give it that idea of the sun striking off the back. Just like that. So there is a simple way to shade. I'm just going to use this tool now because I got these nebulous clouds back here. Shrink it in. I see them as purple, so we're going to fill those in right here. And I'm going to blend a color now using, because this is a good start. It's very grapey though. of this fun color. And now to blend in a color, and real quick I'm going to hit a couple of areas right there. You should be a background color right there. So now I'm going to use this darker shade with the brush, and I'm going to go back over. Oop, I missed a spot right here. And blending a custom color now by layering those two. And this is, it's not exactly what I had imagined it would do. So we'll bring it to life with another shade on top. And the beautiful thing is, if I don't like it, I erase it. And it erases and I can start over on that. I will say, make sure when you're going backwards on this that you hit the back button and not the return to the home screen. So I have done that a couple of times and lost a lot of work that I was doing because I hit the wrong button, and that's sad when that happens. It's like, oh no, everything I was doing. Now I'm going to use that bright blue right there, and I'm going to see what happens when I layer this on top. It may turn out great, it may turn out awful. I think it's worth a try. I don't think that's doing what I thought it would do. Let's try the pink, see what the pink does. It's a real subtle, understated shade now. It's still a little too grapey. So let's try. Let's see what happens if I come in now. And instead of trying to finagle this perfectly, I instead come in and start adding in some shadowing. And maybe see if that creates some fun on here. Always an interesting mental shift because I can color right over that little star there, the way this works. And in real life, if I did that with real colored pencils, it would not be the best thing. Oops. Thinking through my... Let's come in like this, like that, and there. That would not, it would start here. Thinking through your shadows when you've got a light source takes a little bit of thought. It doesn't, the lower level here. Okay, so that's in down here now. Not being perfect here because some of these would be. You can put as much thought into this as you want when you're doing it. If you want a lot of shadows, you can go in and put in a bunch. I do find that layering this way does give you a lot of available ways to shadow, because in the basic way, like when you're working with, say, color pencils, you can layer and layer and layer on top of itself. Well, you can't do that as much with a program because you only have so many layers available on this. It's not like, you know, you're in Adobe and you can sit there and say, I've got all the layers I need. I've only got so many that they've programmed in. So now we're going to come in. I'm going to put in some highlights. A little too big. I want smaller. I'm going to go with small. Keep adding in highlights here. Lots of highlights. I find it's great if you're not 100% perfect with how you put all these in. It gives it a more of a hand-drawn look. Anybody can ink in perfectly inside of the lines. And I like being able to try to make my pieces on here look like they're still hand-drawn versus made with technology. So this is coming along now. Let's go ahead. And I'm going to add in a pink layer along the bottom. Did that even come up? Okay, let's try again here. This is kind of a weird gassy bubble. Oh, I missed a spot. I've got a little bit of glare from my lights in here, so sometimes it's hard to see where I've been. Again, the beauty of the undo button. So just trying to give it a feel, a little bit of the gases in here. Have a glass cloud. Oops. Start here at the bottom, that'd be easier. And I'm not gonna there we go. Let's go back and get that pretty. It's not like with a pencil where you can go back. You gotta undo it. And I didn't do any yellow in this. So let's come back in and get some yellow spots. Okay, now back to the larger pink. Now you could use the spray paint tool here and it would create a neat effect. I'm just trying to do this all in just one tool because we'll hit up the spray paint tool in another video. We got some interesting things now going on in that cloud. You can go back into, oh, I think I would do a little more pink right in here real quick. And you can use your blue and come back in and throw in some little blue baubles in there, and that would create a neat effect as well. Lots of choices when you're going in the layer. This is a gas cloud. Have some fun. Don't feel like you are tied to one little thing. Now, we have some choices here for the hair. I have not really used any of the orange in this. If I come in now with some orange, I'm going to show you guys. It's going to come in really strong against, excuse me, all of this purple. So if you want a strong color, probably be good to use it, oops, out in here with these stars. Just because orange is going to be really, really strong. If I use it here, it's going to be a big contrast. Now, if you want a big contrast, that's great. Orange and purple are natural opposite, or not, they're not opposites, but they're complementary on the color wheel. Yellow would be the true opposite, but it creates a lot of contrast. Which is if that's what you're going for, that's great. Use the contrast to your advantage on this. I can see how these will stand out. Let's say I do a little bit of the hair here with some orange. You see the orange in there. If I did it with the brush, really a brick red there, and then the orange would, oh, look like that, which is fun. If you're, again, you're going for the rainbow look, you can create a rainbow Pegasus really quick. You know what? I'm thinking maybe I will do that. I'm going to do the rainbow hair on this. So we're going to have some fun creating some rainbow hair, because I think I'm liking that. And if I do it like this, yellow, then the green, and the blue, between blue, and then the purple. We have some a fun rainbow hair there. That's really, really, really rainbow. I'm not digging this in that shade though. I think I want that to be that purple here. And I'm gonna go over it a couple of times. Not as bold as her hair. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to add in a couple of little streaky bits along the top. We're going to add a little gloss into the hair by doing it. I'm erasing. Actually, I don't want to erase there. I want to erase here. I'm using the eraser here to create very, very white highlights. Now what you can also do, I'm going to smooth this just a little bit, is if I wanted to say this is like a spot in the hair where it kind of bends a little bit and curls, that'll create a look like you've got a little bit of, then I can come in on it and create and I'm probably going to come back in and re-erase, but because I did that with this tool, I'm able to create some highlighting right there. A little bit and pulling it together with the hair. And you repeat this all the way through. Each time that I want to add and darken this highlight, I lift my pen, don't forget that. And I create these layers. Back to the red here, darken this up. If I'd done this all in the watercolor, I could have done even more shades. And I worked the other day on one. We're going to really zoom in here so I can hug that line. Oops. Bump the side of my iPad there. Just clean that up just a little bit. You can see you're getting some dimension in the hair right there. I'm not real thrilled about the way that one turned out. Again, you can play with it, and I can always come back and go in here and just darken it back up and say I didn't like that part of it. We're just gonna highlight it like that, and there's a simple highlight. And I changed my mind and I cleaned it up. So something you can do with this that works out well. One other quick thing before I say I am done with this little tutorial is remember how we did the watercolor background just a few minutes ago with and created that bokeh effect. One thing I can do using that is I can create a glow effect behind from the stars. Now notice I hit the button up there to turn off my lines, and what I'm going to do now, oh, not that, I thought I was on the watercolor brush, and I can go like that and make these glow. on top. And so that's a neat way to create that effect. And all of my stars will glow then on top of everything. I recommend doing that step last. You know, it's kind of like when you're coming back in with gel pens in a coloring book. That it's one of those, you want your other colors to already be down underneath of it. You'll get a better finished result. And I can just make those glow just like that. And that was really an easy little step to do that with. So I hope that you have enjoyed this tutorial. I am still learning on this app, and I enjoy you learning along with me. I would love to see the pieces that you do as well. So if you share them on social media, please tag me in them. I'm at Grayson Lottes. I am on Instagram and Twitter. You can find me there pretty regularly. Also, yeah, you can follow me there too. And if you've enjoyed this video, please be sure to like, share, and subscribe. I'm trying to put up some tech type videos. I call it my Tech Tuesday video, whether it's an app review or how to use an app. We'll be looking at next week using the spray paint tool, because there are some neat effects you can do with the spray paint tool in this that I enjoy quite a bit. So that will be next Tuesday's video, so be watching for it. And remember that art happens in everyday life. Make sure you're watching for it. Bye.